Today I'm building an ultra budget $250 ITX gaming PC, and I'm gonna show you that it can still play all of the latest titles. This is a combination of some very used hardware that I got some really good deals on, and if you already have your super skeptical glasses on thinking there's no way he's gonna pull this off,
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
or there has to be some massive catch, just relax and check this out. And also, as a bonus, after we build the PC, I'm gonna show you some different parts that you can use just in case you can't replicate the same exact deals that I did. But yeah, let's get building. Today's video is sponsored by GVG Mall, and you probably already know that I've been using them for so long to activate Windows on a ton of my own builds. They're actually running a huge sale right now, which boosts my normal 18% discount up to 25% off if you use code ZTT18, and I'll have that linked at the top of the description. They not only have Windows keys, but also a ton of other stuff such as Office, and even game keys for platforms like Steam, Origin, and Uplay, and they even have console stuff too, like PSN and Xbox prepaid cards as well. Activating Windows is super simple and only takes like 3 minutes total, so activate Windows today and remove that nasty watermark, and don't forget to use ZTT18 for 25% off. We're kicking things off with the CPU motherboard combo that I got, and honestly, I don't even know how to pronounce this motherboard brand, but it's ITX and it's all white, and that's all I really needed to know. Plugged into it is the Intel i5 4690, and despite being around a decade old at this point, this can actually get the job done for someone who wants to game on an extreme budget. It's worth mentioning that ZCWorks in our ZTT Discord server actually sent this over to me for free, so thank you again for that. But I did look it up on eBay, and you can find this combo pretty easily for around $50 or so, and even cheaper if you don't go with ITX. Since this is what he sent me, this is all I had to work with, obviously, so the theme of this build is clearly based around the motherboard. Moving on here though, we have some RAM, and I bought this myself including everything else. Links to all of this are down in the description, by the way. And this is a HyperX Fury DDR3 kit that's 2x8GB, and it's clocked at 1600 megahertz. Moving on for storage, we have the SSD, and I honestly didn't even consider an M.2 drive because I didn't think this ancient of a motherboard would even have a slot, much less an ITX one, so I originally just used this Samsung 860 EVO 1TB. After we built the PC,
hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
I guess I should turn that on. Okay, we'll keep it rolling. After building the PC and Sam started benchmarking it, he quickly realized that the 860 EVO in here was completely broken. It's been sitting on the shelf for several years now, so who knows what happened to it. But then he just went and installed an M.2 drive, and I was like, wait, what? As you can see here, we have a full-size 2280 M.2 NVMe drive in here, so my bad for not realizing this sooner. This is one of those NeTAC drives that I bought 10 of a couple of weeks ago because they were on sale for $25, so that's actually a really good deal for a build like this. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see more obnoxious purchases like this, by the way. The reason you can barely see the drive
You can't see me, dog!
is because it's under a big beefy CPU cooler, and this is the Thermalright Assassin X120 SE ARGB that I picked up on a crazy Amazon deal down to just $17. Because of our motherboard layout, the 120mm fan on here can't quite sit perfectly level with the heatsink, but that's not a huge deal as it has to overhang a bit. And this is actually a different fan than what it originally comes with. I didn't want it to be RGB and I just wanted a white light, so I just threw this extra ID cooling fan that I had on here. Now the CPU cooler can handle a much better and hotter CPU than this one, so we aren't really pushing it, but shout out to ZTT Deals in our Discord server for the hookup on this. If you don't already know, Dr. Deals posts only the best PC hardware deals in our Discord server every single day, perfect for us PC builders and especially us PC flippers. Link is down in the description per usual. Next up we have the power supply, and since our ITX case, which we'll talk about in just a minute, could support ATX power supplies, I just went ahead with this ultra cheap EVGA 450BR that you can sometimes still find on EVGA B stock for around $20, which is what I paid. Power supply deals are getting tougher and tougher to find these days though, and for a build like this, you'll just want to consult your PSU tier list and honestly just grab any tier C or tier B unit that you can find for around $30 to $40. And speaking of this case, this is the Fractal Design Meshify 2 Nano, and I'm just so happy that I finally had an excuse to try this thing out. It was actually on sale on Newegg for just $60, which felt too good to be true. Fractal Design has been pumping out some extremely high quality cases and case designs lately, and this one is certainly no different. For $60, you're getting 2 pre-installed black fans, an airflow design front mesh panel, full ATX power supply support to keep the build costs down, and overall, I think this just looks really clean. I also really like how the PSU basement is kind of warped up down here so the bottom 140mm fan is still blowing air into the correct position. And honestly, I just really recommend this case, but there is one thing that I really don't like about it. Just like the Phanteks P200A, I really hate how the only locking mechanism on the back side panel is a single latch that can't be screwed down. This means that if you have any sort of bulge with your cable management, it's gonna keep coming unlatched, and it's just so annoying, and I really think that you should have a screw here. I don't know why people think that this is such a good idea, and especially since I'm only seeing it on ITX cases, you know, where you have an extremely limited amount of room for cable management. For people like me that only use cable extensions in every single build, this is actually a pretty tough feat to get around. Speaking of those extensions though, today I went with some $20 easy DIY ones, and they definitely look great, but I hate when I use a GPU that doesn't require external power, because that GPU power cable usually makes the build pop. The Meshify 2 Nano does indeed have a cutout and grommet here, which is really nice and a perfect spot. White extensions would look so good coming out of here, but this card just doesn't require it, unfortunately. And while we're here, the very last part of our build today is indeed the GPU, and this is the MSI GTX 1050 Ti, which you can usually find on places like Jawa, eBay, or Mercari for around $60 or so. Because used GPU prices continue to come down, it's not hard to find something like this, and you certainly have a lot of different options that you can go with, such as an RX 570 or 580, or even the GTX 1060, 970, or 1650. We're about to see in the upcoming benchmarking section that the i5 4690 and GTX 1050 Ti are indeed a pretty good combo for some budget gaming here in 2023. But one thing that we really need to consider, which is something that I almost never talk about, is if you're trying to build a PC at this price point, you really need to consider a console as well.
No. Wait.
I think it's pretty obvious at this point in my life and career that I'm on Team PCMR, and building a super budget $250 build like this looks awesome and you can do so much with it, but if you're strictly in the market for just gaming, then a console may actually be a better pick. The Xbox Series S, for example, which only costs $50 more, is packing way better components and price to performance, and that'll obviously provide you with a much smoother and better looking gameplay experience. Now, the point of a video like this is to show you that you can still build an ultra budget PC like this and it looks dope and you can do a lot with it, but it would honestly be irresponsible of me to not mention that some of you should be considering a console at this price point instead. But with that being said, here's what our final parts list is looking like for the build, and as you can see, you can expect to pay anywhere between $250 to $300 for a build like this. My personal cost was only $177 because of the deals and the free CPU motherboard combo, but just use these prices as a guideline if you're trying to copy this at home. And now let's jump straight into some testing, and starting with Grand Theft Auto 5, here you can see that with 1080p normal settings, we actually got a very respectable 79 FPS, which is pretty solid. And speaking of which, I've actually been really itching to play Grand Theft Auto 5 on a 5M server. I don't know the first thing about it other than the basics, so after smashing the like button, if you could help me out down below in the comment section by helping me get started, maybe what server to play on, that would be much appreciated. I'm in a huge Fast and Furious kick right now as I'm rewatching all the movies, and I don't know, I kind of just want to do the same thing that they're doing in the movies in a video game. Don't judge me.
Once we jump to that other skyscraper, we roll out. Got it?
As a family. Roll out, family.
All right, so next up we have Apex Legends, and here we got again a respectable FPS number of 90 with 1080p and very low settings. Next up was Forza Horizon 5, and honestly, this is one of my main games that I'm personally playing right now. Again, I don't know, I'm just in a huge Fast and Furious kick for some reason. And here with 1080p and low settings, we got just above our target 60 FPS mark. Following that was Modern Warfare 2, and we do have a dedicated benchmarking with budget GPU video for this title, by the way, which I'll link in the upper right-hand corner. But here we got 70 FPS, which is pretty solid. Do notice that our 1% low is atrocious, and with an older system and especially CPU like the 4690, this is certainly one of the side effects, so do be aware of that. And for everyone's favorite Fortnite, we put the settings at the much appreciated 1080p performance mode, and we got 156 FPS, which again is pretty solid. And finally, here's what the rest of our benchmarks are looking like, and as I said in the intro, we indeed can play all of these titles with good enough FPS. Obviously that Elden Ring result isn't the best, but if you're in the market for a $250 ITX build, then this is about what you can expect. Or maybe you think you can beat my build here in terms of price to performance. The video that's on the screen now should help you out with that.